Hello, everybody. We will just wait for Donna to come back.
I see a question in the chat about public forum, and we'll just review that in a moment, Lynda.
Okay, everybody is back. We can start anytime you would like. Thank you. We'll call the meeting to order, and Lynda would like to update everybody here. Thank you.
Just a few process questions for the board and also the members of the public who have joined us. This is the first time that the board has used a webinar format, and so this is a format that allows discussion by the board, but also does provide an opportunity for members of the public to attend and listen in and participate at two sections in the agenda. So as you will have heard, if you've been on for a few minutes, attendees will be asked to identify themselves and list their names, including if you're on the phone. And by identifying yourself, it is similar to a public meeting where members of the public are asked to sign in. And so it does just confirm with the board's public meeting process. So trustees, just for your information, as panelists, if you click on participants, you'll see two columns. One is a list of panelists, yourselves, and others are a list of attendees, and you can check that list and you can see that members of the public are in attendance. If you are a member of the public observing the meeting, your microphone and your video will be off because you are not able to participate fully in the meeting, as you would not be able to either as if we were here face to face. So there are two places for public participation during the meeting. Under public forum, participants may address the board on a topic specific on the agenda, and you will be able to request to speak during public forum by typing your name in the chat. So you will see the chat down at the bottom of your screen. If you do wish to speak during public forum, you can go ahead and enter your name now. Public forum participants will have their microphone turned on when it is their turn to speak. And just for your information, the board's bylaw does allow up to 30 minutes for public forum. That 30 minutes has to allow for participation from all members who have asked to speak during public forum. It is not anticipated that any participant would speak for up to 30 minutes. Normally it's a 5 to 10 minute opportunity for members of the public. However, if there are numerous members, then we will have to reduce that to allow everyone to have their chance within the 30 minutes. After public forum, or once public forum starts, the chat will be disabled. And then the second opportunity for the public to speak is at the end of the meeting during question period. And at that time, members of the public can ask questions on any topic pertinent to board work. And at the bottom of the screen, again, you will see Q&A, and you will be able to type questions in that box, and those questions will be answered and addressed by the board co-chair at the end of the meeting. Okay. So I see 3 requests to speak during public forum at this time. See Louise Reed, Juanita Little, and Gloria Mertens.
Thank you, Lynda. And first we will start off with the recognition of traditional territories, Indigenous territories. And we are coming to you from all 3 of our nations, as we are all sitting on our own individual, in our own areas. So we're sitting on the lands of the Niklapmuk, Shwetmuk, and the Shtatlian peoples, and we are working and trying to do our best in these trying times. So we thank them for giving us this opportunity. So on saying that, I'm Nancy Rempel. I'm co-chairing today, and we will start off with Lois or Louise Reed. Did you wish to speak at public forum? Okay, maybe we will come back to her. And Juanita, how would you like to start off?
I just have to enable the microphone.
Okay.
Okay, hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for allowing me the opportunity to speak to the board. I'm Juanita Little, the chair of the Ashcroft Hub Society. So I just wanted to speak to the board today on the agenda item 7.8 about the disposal process for the Ashcroft Elementary School building. Since 2015, just a little bit of background, our society has been actively involved in the hub and created the hub, took over the building and started delivering programs and space for events and to build community connectedness through opportunities in wellness, recreation, and the arts. Our hub has grown so much in the last 5 years with programs for all ages, including dance, art, sewing, youth groups, community coffees for seniors, fitnesses. We've been able to expand with our Hub Online Network, which is a local news group. Our space is being utilized for birthdays, reunions, elections, markets, retreats, meetings, educations, and just room rentals for whatever is needed in the community, which has really kind of met the community connectedness aspect. We're proud of the hub being truly a place where ideas bloom to meet the needs of the community, and it always seems to be we get ideas and it's like, hey, wouldn't it be great if we could do this, and then off we go and run with it. Our hub has faced challenges through the few years we've had, with the wildfires. It became a central spot for people to get out of the smoke. In heat, we've opened it up to be able to have people access if they don't have air conditioning. We've taken on different projects that probably the community would have lost if we didn't have them, like our Christmas parades. We've had theaters come in on board, all those kinds of things. We've also, in COVID, pandemic hit. It hit everybody, all organizations very hard. It hit the hub as well. But in that, we were also able to adapt, and we created a COVID hotline that amalgamated 20 different agencies and organizations that help to meet the needs of our food, shelter, clothing, wellness across not just Ashcroft and Cache Creek communities, but also Spence's Bridge, Clinton, which is I'm very proud of that. And in those times that was able to be accomplished. We've done, as a hub, we think we've been pretty responsible with looking after the building. We've gone and obtained grants and money to better our lighting, our fixtures, our doors and things like that to reduce costs of hydro and our gas. We've done painting, we've replaced the HVAC system that does our heating and our air conditioning, snow removal, those kinds of things. So we're trying to do our part as well to look after it and sustain it, because we want the hub to be there for as long as possible. Honestly, our hub board is quite surprised at this time that this disposal process is coming in the midst of a pandemic. The pandemic, as everybody at this meeting can attest to, has been a real game changer in everyday life. Every day things change. One day we can meet with people, one day we can't meet with people. Oh yes, now you can meet with people again. Oh no, don't do that anymore. So the uncertainty and the constant changes has been exhausting and stressful, I think, for everybody, including, on I think everybody's personal life, everybody's business life, everybody's work life, everybody's extracurricular life. So I think at this time, with that being said, that has also affected our memberships. our operations and our income at the hub, and we are trying to keep adapting and flowing and rolling with this times. Our hub is important to this community, and we really feel we want to be well set up and look after the hub and keep it in the community for many more years to come. And so with that being said, our board is asking that the school district board, please delay this disposal process at this time. We are in our 4th year of a 9-year lease, and we have been, as a board, working hard to try to get ourselves sustainable to be able to take on more of that the building piece of it. However, with COVID hitting in March, we're doing a little bit of restructuring as everybody is. So I'm just again asking if the board would please delay this disposal process at this time till we're in more certain times and are able to make sure that the hub is part of the community for years and years and years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Anita. Gloria, did you wish to speak?
It'll just take me a moment to unmute her microphone.
Okay, thank you.
Can you hear me?
We can. Thank you.
My name is Gloria Mertens. I'm just a member of the public. And I basically have more questions, and I imagine throughout the meeting that you will answer them. Right when we initiated, looking at the hub as an amenity for the village, we knew that there was going to be some necessity for us to take over and to look at financing. So my questions maybe are more applicable at the end, but I will say a few things and then you can consider them as you go through the meeting. I'm just wondering about the requirement, as Juanita said, in order for it to be maintained by the village as an amenity for the village, what would it require for sustainability to be self-sustained? And the process for disposal, I imagine, takes not just a simple, we're going to discuss it today and tomorrow it's gone. Knowing how government works, it could be a 2 or 3 year process. So that's understandable. I just like to know exactly how, what the financing part is, because once you take an amenity away or any infrastructure away, we all know how very, very difficult it is to get anything like that back. Like the board to also consider that with the inland port expanding, that there may be many families coming into the area. And if the property is changed to become privatized as the Coppervale property was, that there's no longer a school property that's available. At least not centralized. I know that there was at one point one up at the in the Mesa Vista, but I'm not exactly sure if that would be the best place for a school. So thinking in advance, think also about the fact that not only is it a greatly used amenity and well used by the community, but also for the school purposes, that the property could be used potentially by the school again should enrollment suddenly increase substantially. Those are just a couple of things I would like to have said, and to realize that it is dedicated public property, and it would be nice to maintain it as public property. Thank you.
Thank you, Gloria. And I see there is a new one who has asked to speak, but I'm just going to go back and see if Louise or Lois wish to speak, does not want to speak. Okay.
She doesn't appear to be at the meeting any longer.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Trish, if you would like to speak. Do you have her there, Lynda?
Hello.
Hi.
For those of you that don't know me, my name is Trish Shackle, and I'm with the South Caribou Elizabeth Fry Society. I'm just speaking in support of waylaying the decision. With the start of COVID-19, we were fortunate enough to be part of that group with the COVID-19 helpline, and some really beautiful things have blossomed in this community because of it. I always joke that the COVID-19 helpline really in this community is the rose that has grown out of this compost pile of the pandemic. My agency has been fortunate enough that we've really been able to collaborate with the hub. um, we operate the local food bank, and early in the pandemic, we got the warning from Food Banks BC and Food Banks Canada that we really needed to start stockpiling food reserves because of shortages, and there were some real amounts of food that were generated. We operate a really small space in the village building. Our food bank has grown, it's actually quadrupled, not only in the physical space it takes up, but the amount of people we serve. I did a call out in early spring and said, I need a place to store food. We need a place to store food. I need something either free or relatively cheap, and the hub stepped up. So we're fortunate enough that they gave us a space, and the food security in this community and beyond. We're really fortunate right now. I'm able to send some of our reserves to other local food banks to also support the schools. I've had conversations with them. We've got shelf stable milk. We've got cereal. I've got turkeys galore. If anybody needs a 25-pound turkey, we're able. So the hub's helping us support food security. Could we feed the 100 kids a month and the 200 adults without their support? Possibly, but there's definitely food shortages, and so the hub is instrumental for us right now with food security. What I'm going to do if I'm not able to have that space, I'm not really sure. Beg, steal, and borrow anybody who's got a vacant garage. The other really fortunate thing that we've been able to access at the hub is space, because as we all know, with the COVID regulations, there needs to be that social distancing. Unfortunately, our very small multi-purpose room has been overtaken by shelves and deep freezes and fridges from the food bank. So the hub has been able to allow us to move our programming to their space for so cheap. It's amazing that they're able to do that for us. So we do, prior to the recent announcements at the beginning of December, we do some programming with Ashcroft Indian Band twice a month at the hub space. We're able to do supervised visits for those families whose kids are in care of the Ministry for Children and Families and need that extra support and guidance. We're able to do that at the hub. We do grief groups at the hub. We offer some parenting programs and some children's programs. We also do some evening programs for women. The majority of them happen to be widowers. So could we do this without accessing the hub? I tell you, I don't have the space right now. So, it's very important for us that we've been able to collaborate with the hub, and we've been able to utilize that space to do programming. Otherwise, it would really limit the amount of people we could access. And I just look at, MCFD, they don't have the space in their building to do supervised visits for those families. So right now, they're renting space off the hub as well to do those visits. So, it would be wonderful if, once things die down with the pandemic, whenever that is, we can have some discussions about it. For my agency and those marginalized families, it's going to be a huge impact because we aren't going to be able to reach the masses that we can, and it's going to, exactly what Juanita was saying is, we've had to shift and change and shift and change, every other week to all of a sudden have to try to find a new space where there isn't space available to offer programming to families is really going to be detrimental to those families and individuals we serve. I'm just speaking on behalf of those people who generally don't have a voice in our community. So I really appreciate what the hub's done for my agency since the height of this pandemic, and I feel like that collaboration piece will continue. It's not very often you have an arts and recreation facility that has a really close collaboration with an agency that does social and emotional programming. So I'm just very thankful and very passionate about what the hub does for us and our clients. And I just would love a little bit of extension because I'm a bit frantic about what's going to happen if, we have to start looking at other space and how we provide services as an agency to those in our community and beyond. So thank you for the opportunity, letting me speak.
Thank you very much, Tricia, or Trish. I'm not sure if anybody else wants to speak. I see no other speakers on the list. Thank you all for your input, and we will carry on with the agenda. Can I get that the agenda be adopted as presented, please? Can I get a mover? Oh, and now we're going to go over there. Larry, thank you, and Valerie, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got my other hand raising one, so if you wish to raise your hand at any time, please do. Okay, the approval of the consent agenda. It's recommended that the consent agenda be approved as presented. Can I get a mover, please? Valerie?
Valerie.
Seconded, I think, Larry, but I'm not sure. Or was that Vicky? There we go. Thank you. All in favor? Or anyone opposed? Thank you. And with that, we will have a special presentation. Lytton K-12 school update. District management will provide an update on the Lytton K-12 school. Thank you.
Wait for the moment for the presentation to be provided.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we can go back to the first slide for a moment, Jill. As the board knows, this has been a multi-year project, and the first picture that you see there is a picture of the finished window wall that is you see as you drive up to the building. Okay. So in 2018, the board approved the consolidation of the Lytton schools with a renovation project at Kumsheen Secondary School, and when the project was complete, the closure of Lytton Elementary School would be effective upon the consolidation of the Lytton K-12 school at Kumsheen. The K-12 project included a establishment of a committee as well in 2018 to review and gather feedback on the plans for the school. So the committee met and was represented by members of PAC, from the student body, staff from both schools, administration, and the architect, as well as the company that was going to be, or no, it wasn't the company at that time, but the architect was there, as well as Debbie Sansom, the director of facilities. And the committee met several times to talk about what they wanted to see in the new school. They gathered feedback from their representative groups and brought that back to the committee as well to discuss. And it took a few months, obviously, with a project and with connecting with other groups. But in the end, the committee saw the final plans. The plans were provided at a public house or an open house in the community of Lytton, and we proceeded with the project. So the actual construction project started in 2019 on the lower floor of Kumsheen. The secondary students continued to attend along with staff on the main floor, and the project started on the lower level. The lower level was completed in September 2020, so just a few short months ago. And at the same time, so they, Okay, I'm going to keep going. So the project on the lower level finished in 2020 in September, and staff and students moved to the lower level, although the office was also renovated during the spring, so the office remained in the same location while staff and students occupied the lower level. So since September, the project continued on the main floor, the first floor as you walk in the building, and the first floor was complete in December 2020. And the student transition to the K-12 is starting this week. My apologies for my little brain melt there. So the next few slides show some of the highlights of the project, and it really is unfortunate that everyone can't go and experience it. It really is a transformation. It is amazing and it's beautiful. So some of the highlights from the exterior, our perimeter fencing, that was a concern that was raised by the community, certainly was safety for students. So the entire perimeter of the school has been fenced. There is a new bus drop-off, and you can see that in the picture that is on the far right. That is looking at the bus drop-off from inside the school on the top level. We have added front and rear entrance canopies so that there was a request during the renovation drawings for a sort of bit of an outdoor classroom space. So at the back, there is now quite a large canopy so that students and staff can gather underneath. It's a place, if it's hot, that they can work together. If it's raining, there's still enough space there to work together and learn and play. It is similar to the canopy at Desert Sands. If you have seen that, it is that same sort of structure, and it is beautiful, and it's added to front and back. The parking spaces were also identified as a concern during the community process because the school is used extensively by community, and there was certainly some concern about access to parking. And at the back of the school, where the field is, there was a cement pad there that was used occasionally for, I don't know if it was used for hockey or some sort of outdoor activities. It was no longer used. That has been converted to parking spaces, as well as other spots for staff to park at the back there. And of course, the exterior window wall is a feature that has received a lot of positive feedback from community. And what it does is, when you used to walk in the front of the building, it was dark. There wasn't a lot of light. You couldn't see the beautiful nature of the New Captain Valley. And so with that opening on both floors, it's sort of a ceiling to floor wall of windows. And now you can see the view and the light comes in on both floors, and it has added a very positive element to the school for sure. Playground is obviously a big feature for students of all ages. And you can see one picture of the playground during sunny weather and warm. And then we were there over the winter break, and it had just snowed. So you can't quite, unfortunately, see the basketball court that has been added. If people are familiar with Lytton, you will know that basketball is a key activity for the community and for staff and students. And so it was important to provide something that the older students would enjoy and benefit as well. And as soon as that basketball court was opened at the beginning of September, it was used immediately, and it has been used extensively since the school has opened since September. It has seating around the court, and a couple of different sections. They're wood, I don't know if they're wood, but they're a very durable seating so that when people are there and they're playing, they can still visit. The seating, you can look one way is the basketball court and the other is the playground. So it is a very positive feature as well. The playground was provided through funding from the Ministry of Education. And so that was a benefit for sure for funding purposes. The interior has had significant changes. And so the next slide has some pictures, but as you could expect, it was an old school. And so once you open a construction project, you do have to ensure that the project meets code. And so there were projects that we did not anticipate prior to the start of the project because there are things that you just don't know until you get in there. And so there were some additional barriers and supports that needed to be added. We replaced windows, of course, all new painting inside. The library, the former library area has been opened up in a huge common area with the installation of 3 large skylights and clear sliding doors so that the area can be closed off if necessary, but it can be open for just to open up the space and to allow for staff and students to use the space as necessary. Security gates have been installed at the office. The office has been opened up. There used to be a very formal structure there. That wall is gone for the office, but so it's much more open. However, there is a security gate that can be closed, when staff have left the building and to ensure that information is still secure. As well, there is a security gate that has been installed prior to the former library area, so that when public is in the building, if they still need to use the space, they can still have access to the washrooms. However, the classroom areas are not accessible if that is the desire. Solar tubes, which is a thing that I wasn't aware of, but has again provided some additional light downstairs. We heard during the consultation process with community that there was concern that the lower level would still be quite dark. It's an older brick building, which is great for sort of the solid nature of the building itself. However, it didn't allow for a lot of natural light. So almost like light tubes have been installed in one particular classroom that was quite dark because there's limited windows. And so it brings in light from outside. Unfortunately, if you're in the classroom, you can't actually see it because there are sort of grates that look like normal window, normal light coverings, but it is allowing natural light to come to the classroom. Gender neutral washrooms have been added, updated on both floors. So again, similar to the washrooms that you see in Clinton, for example, or Desert Sands. Washrooms have been upgraded on both levels. If you had been to Kumsheen over the last few years, you would probably recall that they were quite dated. And so the new washrooms really are a big improvement as well. I already mentioned the windows. And if you go to the next slide, you'll see an example of the hallway seating. And that is if you can see the center picture there with the arrow at the bottom, you can see that there's actually seating built into the hallways on both levels. And so that allows, and there's also even little plug-ins so that if staff or students are sitting there and they need to be able to charge their technology, which is a normal occurrence these days, there is that ability to sit and ensure that they're able to use the technology that's needed at that time. So the seating is beautiful, and you can see there are several seats on both levels. In the middle as well is the security gate. That's the office, so that security gate is closed, so you can see it. On the upper right is one of 3 skylights in the common area, which is allowing a lot of natural light to come in. On the upper left is the now open common area. And so you can just see the doors in the middle there. They are open, but we do have the ability to close those if necessary, but it does open up the whole space. The bottom right is actually a picture of the common area. It's a little hard to see, but we have purchased furniture. It was put together and installed over the winter break, and it is furniture that matches the carpentry that has been done, the millwork, so that all of the furnishings are consistent. And on the lower left is a classroom, and you can see that where possible, we added windows to allow for visibility and light, and this again is on the lower level, so that students and staff don't feel that if they are in the lower level, that somehow that means that they have access to less light, which was a big concern. So the colors are consistent throughout the building, and so it is hard to show in pictures what really is a fabulous facility now, but one day you will be able to see it. So in December, there was communication with families about the transition, support for Lytton Elementary staff to visit the new classrooms and determine how their classrooms should be organized. We organized packing and the moving of resources, did work at Kumsheen, obviously, for the transition to K-12, which included putting all the furniture together and set up. considered additional busing requirements. There is still some access issues for students who may have to walk, so we're figuring out those issues with additional busing at this time. There was a fair amount of work done by operations staff and project staff over the 2-week break in December, and that really did enable us to have students there this week. So all of the students will have an opportunity to learn about the new school and visit it this week. The intermediate students are starting on Wednesday, that's tomorrow, and the primary students will start on Monday with their last day at Lytton Elementary being Friday. So as of Monday, we will be operating as a K-12 school in Lytton, and we are very excited about that. It's been a long time coming, but we do believe that it will be a much improved situation for students and staff and community. The next step in the process, or one of the next steps, is the school name, and the committee has met to discuss the naming process, and a process is in place. You may have seen it on Facebook if you're on either the Kumsheen or Lytton Elementary Facebook pages. They have provided opportunities for community to submit names. They will be reviewing those names. I think they did that yesterday. The deadline was yesterday, so I'm not sure at what point they will review. But the board, in accordance with your school naming policy, the board will receive potential names at your February meeting. And at that point, the board has the decision, or the final decision around the name. Our next steps, obviously, to continue to focus on health and safety for students, staff, and families. It has certainly been a change for everyone and in the middle of a pandemic, and so we want to ensure that people are feeling safe and cared for during the transition. The name of the school will be confirmed. We have obviously and acknowledge that community recognition cannot happen at this time, but we will want to acknowledge recognize Lytton Elementary and the contributions it has provided to the communities, and also celebrate the new K-12. And when we have more information about when and how we can do that, that information will be provided. We'll continue with the transfer of supplies to the K-12 school. The organization and cleaning of Lytton Elementary still needs to occur. What we learned during the transition of the Ashcroft schools was that there can be a substantial amount of resources that are left at the closed school. And so I know that was a process that we worked through for a number of months. And so we're hoping that what we learned from there, we can use to tighten that time frame at Lytton Elementary. We do intend to communicate to the community of a lease with Nzenman Child and Family Development Center Society. Nzenman is already in the building. They have part of the lower level for a child care center, and they also have another section of the school where they provide family programs. And so they are interested in leasing the building on a short-term basis. They are actively seeking another building, so it's a bit of a stopgap for them until they can transition to a new space. And we will be advertising that in the community. At one point, we'll have to advise the ministry of the official closure of Lytton Elementary School. And with the architectural find this summer, the archaeological find this summer, it did result in a stoppage of work for several months. And so an electrical upgrade of Kumsheen that was scheduled to happen this summer could not occur. So that we are able to obviously manage as it currently is, but the electrical upgrade will now happen this summer 2021. And that really should be the last major project connected with this project, although there still likely will be work that is required around the heating ventilation system and the mechanical system, but the electrical upgrade will bring that to a close. And then finally, just the acknowledgements of the amount of work that has gone into a project like this. As the board is well aware, this has been a multi-year project and a long time, a discussion in the community. And so really have to acknowledge the work that the board has done in bringing this project to fruition and completion. And it is really appreciated, I know, by district staff as well, that it was a really tough discussion, but We appreciate that you took the time and the energy to do that. Obviously, to the Lytton School staff, students, and families, this has been difficult for them in many ways as well over the years. And so we do hope that given time and given the new building, that it will be accepted as a very positive addition to the school. And then the operations staff led by the Director of Facilities has been phenomenal through this. They're a very, very small staff. You know, we talk about operations staff as if they're this big group, but we have a very small staff, and the work that they have done and the pride that they take in their work and their dedication just is amazing. And we could not have done this without them, as well as Grayback Construction and HDR Architecture. Both of those organizations have put their hearts and souls into this project. It's a long time coming, but the individual who has led the project on site, Mark Richards from Grayback, lived in the area for the last year and a half. He's had his truck stolen and all his tools stolen, and he's gone through some really rough times being apart from his family. But he is so proud of the work. He knows the individuals by name, the staff, some of the students by name, and he's very connected. So, you know, it's just an amazing project, and really looking forward to everyone seeing it. So sorry, that was longer than I anticipated, but it's very exciting.
Very nice, Lynda. It's very exciting to see, and I can't wait until we can all get a chance to go in and have a tour of it. Thank you very much. And it wasn't too long because, as you said, it's very exciting. Did anybody have any questions or comments to Lynda? Vicky?
I'm just wondering if the K-12 amalgamation has any impact on staffing, more or less?
Not at this point. We will be reviewing that for the fall. Normally, when you are looking at an amalgamation, you're looking at reductions of custodial. Normally, it is normally the support staff, because you usually require the same number of teachers. And so the same number, the teachers are unchanged. And at this point, we have not reduced the support staff either, just because of some of the complexities in some of the transition from the other school and the needs. So there will likely be changes in September, but not at this time.
Thank you. Valerie?
Just a thank you to the senior staff for all the work that you did. I mean, this was trying times for us, and we made it through all of this because of the hard work that you guys put in. So thank you very much. And I think that we should be, even though we can't get together to celebrate, can we get together some cards or letters of thank you to all of those you mentioned in your report there, Lynda?
Okay. Good idea. Thanks, Val. Anybody else have anything they'd like to add? Okay, no, then we will move on. Thank you. Item 7.1, I believe, yes. Year-to-date financial information. Recommendation is that the Board of Education approve the November 30th, 2020 year-to-date financial information as presented. Can I get a mover, please?
Valerie?
Valerie? Second? Carmen? Thank you. And now we can have discussion. Lynda?
The document that is provided to you on pages 11 to 25 is as of November 30th, 2020 year to date. It compares the budget approved by the board in June 2020 to projections for the school year. The budget was prepared at the start of the pandemic and prepared based on prior years. Because we did obviously not know what the situation was going to be for the fall, we budgeted, as you're aware, based on sort of best case scenario and anticipation that we would be able to operate. The board is also required to review and approve an amended budget by the end of February 2021, and that document will be provided for your approval at the February board meeting. This report, if you go to statement 2 on the next page, provides information on 3 funds. It's the operating, special purpose funds, and capital. And I know these are reports that the board reviews regularly, so I won't spend a lot of time on them, but certainly can respond to any questions. What this report shows is actual revenue of 23.6 million, expenses of 23.4 million, and a net revenue of 214,000. Now that is based on all three funds, and really the information that is probably of most interest to the board at this time is the operating fund, as that is where most of your activities happen during the year. So on page 13, Schedule 2, the first column shows the projection for the year based on what you have spent to date. The budget that was approved is the second column, and finally the third column is the variance of those two amounts. So the total revenue and expenses, revenue of 21.2 in operating fund, which is a variance of about $2,000 from what we expected to receive in June. We show expenses about midway through the page there, expenses of 19.9 million, which is a variance of approximately 693,000, with a net revenue of 1.2 million, which is a variance of 691,000 from what we anticipated in June. At the bottom, you can see there's a transfer of 594,000 to the capital fund, and that was anticipated in June and is reflected in this document. Schedule 2A focuses just on revenue. So of the 21.2 million that you saw on the previous page is also reflected here. That includes 19.7 million from the Ministry of Education, and that total is shown about a third of a way down the page. Obviously, the majority of your revenue does come from the Ministry of Education. You're very reliant on them for funding. The other largest amount is 1.2 million received through the local education agreements, which is flows through the 7 local education agreements that you have currently signed with bands. When you have a signed local education agreement, the funding can flow through the band as opposed to coming to the board from the ministry. On Schedule 2B, focuses on expenses, and certainly this is where you see the most of the variances from what we anticipated in June. Under salaries, just going to find my page here on page 15, total salaries of 12.6 million anticipated for this year versus a budget of almost 13 million or just over 13 million. Some of the variances that are there due to recruitment challenges. The board started an early learning program, so that actually increased some staffing amounts because that happened after the budget was passed. One of the larger amounts you see under substitutes is due to fewer meetings. You know, there's certainly less travel, less opportunity to be out of classrooms and buildings and schools, and so there are fewer absences. It's also a reflection that there are fewer individuals available for relief. So what school staff members see is that when people are away, we aren't always able to replace them. That's also an indication of some of the surplus dollars that you see there. We have also attempted to hire We have hired 2 staff members, which fill in for people who are away. We recognized early on that there were some challenges with filling relief positions, and so we do have 2 individuals who are members of staff who are now filling in when they are available. And services and supplies, you see a variance there of 219,000. It's about 3/4 of the way down the page. We project 3.8 million in expenses versus an anticipated budget of 4 million. Most of that variance is due to the reduction in travel and professional development costs. Overall, you see the variance of 693,000, which is available to the board for allocation at the end of the year. The PEC report is on the following page. This is a document that shows the individual, the year-to-date budget report again shows the expenses in a department category, and you can see the same amounts, the same totals, however, they're showed by department. The largest amount there under district is because that is the area that most of the reporting for travel and professional development occurs. And that is the PPEC budget that goes forward to PPEC to approve. It shows the dollar amounts for the individual schools. Pages 19 to 22 are the special purpose funds. Those are grants that are provided to the board for specific purposes. And we show those grants by individual grants, and it shows the beginning balance, the anticipated revenue, the next slide, Jill, and anticipated expenses. And the last page there, you can see, just point of interest, the federal funds and the provincial funds due to the pandemic are there, and we do anticipate that they will be spent by the end of the year. And pages 23 and 24 are the reports on the capital fund. It shows you the revenue and expenses for the 2021 school year. Shows the transfer of capital asset purchases on that slide of 4.2 million. And this page shows the 3 categories of your capital fund: your local capital, your bylaw capital, and the restricted capital. The final page of the report is the trustee professional development budget.
Thank you very much, Lynda. Does anybody have any questions regarding the financials to Lynda? Okay, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those opposed to the financial statement? Okay, seeing none, that motion's passed. Thank you. And we will move on to 7.2. Excuse me. 2022-23 and 2023-24 district calendar, the board will review, and the recommendation is that the Board of the Education approve the 2022-2023 district calendar year as presented. And I see we're doing these in 2 separate motions. So can I have a mover for this one? Carmen? A seconder? Larry, thank you. And did Teresa or Lynda, anybody want to speak to this?
If it's, I can speak quickly and I'll address both calendars if that works
Okay.
for the board. So
Thank you.
starting on page 26 of your agenda, you have some information regarding both calendars. District management did start this process last February, as it has been the ongoing request of partner groups that the board have 3 forward-looking calendars as often as possible to help people plan their lives. And so we did try that work last year, but it felt at the end of February like that was inappropriate to move forward, and so we did pause that. But on October 19th, we restarted that process. So the draft calendars were posted on the district website, and they were shared with partner groups, and there was an online survey as well as notification of other ways where individuals could provide their input into the calendars as they were drafted. You see on page 27 the feedback that was collected via the survey, email, and phone responses. And then you see on page 28 the 2 proposed draft calendars for the
A new station alert has arrived.
That might be additional feedback that you might not want to receive for 22-23 and 23-24. The calendars, as they have been drafted, meet the School Act criteria and requirements for a district calendar.
Thank you. Yeah. And just so everybody knows, there's a special weather advisory out there. Any questions for Teresa? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of, I'm going to actually go in favor because I prefer the favor rather than the negative. All those in favor of approving the 2022-23 calendar? Thank you. And all those in, that the board approve the 2023-2024 district calendar as presented. Can I get a mover for that, please? Carmen, thank you. Second? Donna, thank you. And all in favor Or was there any questions on this one? I'm not sure. Or was that a question or you were just voting? Okay, thank you. Okay, all in favor? Thank you. And that is passed. Thank you. Thank you, Teresa. Policy 1.70, trustee oath of office monitoring. In November, policy committee reviewed policy 1.170, trustee oath of office. Recommendation is that the board adopt policy 1.170, trustee oath as presented. Can I get a mover, please? Carmen, thank you. Second, Donna, thank you. Any questions, comments? No? Okay, thank you. All in favor? Thank you. If I'm missing anybody, it's only because I'm scrolling back and forth here between pictures, so thank you. 7.4, policy 1.180, trustees' roles and responsibilities. In November, policy committee reviewed policy 1.180, trustees' role and responsibilities. It's recommended that the Board of Education adopt policy 1.180, trustees' roles and responsibilities as presented. Can I get a mover? Thank you, Vicki. I actually drew a blank as I was looking at your hand. Second, Carmen, thank you. And any questions or concerns? Comments? Discussion? No? Okay, seeing none. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. And that policy is passed also. Policy 1.160, truth and reconciliation. In November, policy committee reviewed policy 1.60, truth and reconciliation. The recommendation is that the Board of Education adopt policy 1.160, truth and reconciliation as presented. Can I get a mover? Vicki, thank you. Second, Valerie, thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns? No, seeing none. All those in favor? Thank you. And that is passed. Policy 2.40, financial planning and management. Excuse me. In November, policy committee reviewed policy 2.40, financial planning and management. The recommendation is that the Board of Education adopt policy 2.40, financial planning and management as presented. Can I get a mover, please? Larry, thank you. And seconded, Donna. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none, all those in favor? Thank you. That is passed. 7.70, policy 2.130, meeting expenses. In November, policy committee reviewed policy 2.130, meeting expenses. And the recommendation is that the Board of Education adopt policy 2.130, meeting expenses as presented. Can I get a mover for that, please? Valerie, thank you. Second? Donna, thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns? Seeing none. All those in favor? Thank you. And that is passed. Now, excuse me, I just have to. Okay. Sorry. On to 7.80, former Ashcroft Elementary School property disposal. The board will discuss the process to gather input on the disposal of the former Ashcroft Elementary School. Was there any, I wasn't sure and I forgot to ask this, did staff want to speak to this in any way or just start the conversation?
Sorry, can I just declare my conflict?
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll just declare my conflict since I'm the executive director at the hub and also a trustee here. I won't participate in the conversation, and I'll turn my video off as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Any conversation to start? Teresa or Lynda? I'm not sure. Like I said, I'm not sure if either one of you were going to speak. So
I could just provide a brief context if you like.
please, thank you.
So the disposal of property, such as land or buildings, is governed by ministerial order, and approval of the Minister of Education is required. It's a formal process and includes a number of requirements, including community consultation, and it does take time to go through the process. The board has disposed of a number of properties over the last few years with the intent that board resources are focused on schools and students. And the board has previously approved starting to look at the property of the former Ashcroft Elementary School, and that was approved last year, and it was approved to move forward for this year. The process includes hearing from the public about the property use and potential disposal, which is why it's on the agenda today for discussion. The ministerial order defines disposal as a sale and transfer to another party or a lease of 10 years or more, and both require ministerial approval. So boards can lease properties for under 10 years, but anything over 10 years requires ministerial approval. The property is currently leased to the Ashcroft Hub Society. District annual costs of approximately $27,000 for maintenance of grounds, security, irrigation, sewer, and also some maintenance work that has to be done by our staff to ensure the viability of the building. So this item is here for discussion about proceeding with gathering information from the public about the property and also potential timeline.
Thank you, Lynda. Now we will open it up for discussion. Carmen, please.
Thank you. Are we just discussing, or should there be a motion on the table?
Okay, just 1 second. I'm just looking. Lynda, if you're looking at the chat, thank you. Okay, I'm sorry.
Motion that the Board of Education, is that the motion down at the bottom?
I'm sorry, yes, that the Board of Education approve proceeding with a community consultation process on the possible disposal of the former Ashcroft Elementary School. Can I get a mover for that, or do we want to start that right now?
I'll move.
Thank you. Seconder?
Second.
Thank you, Valerie. And now we will have discussion. Sorry, thank you, Carmen, for picking that up.
Oh yeah, well, that's okay. I support moving ahead with the process, provided only that the process is thorough and includes the opportunity for submissions through technology and also other means where people may not have access to technology. I believe that the consultation process has occurred for other matters in the school district during COVID, and that I'm very confident that the staff can plan an effective consultation process that's fair and allows the ministry objectives to be met. I'm aware personally of the many excellent programs and resources that the Hub Society provides at Ashcroft Elementary School. I've personally used it for many different activities, and I've seen their work on social media and been very aware of their work. And as a local trustee, I do want to see the Hub continue in a sustainable way over the long term. For us as a school board and me as a trustee, I believe our first priority as a district is education and students and our strategic goals as outlined in our work. I believe that as a board, we need to be equitable across the district. And at this time, I believe that equity is important to financially maintain the entire school district, and that district funds and money should be focused on the children that are in our schools. And I hope that we can move forward with this. I hope the other trustees will support a consultation process. I believe we can do a good consultation process and come up with what is hopefully a winning solution for all parties involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Carmen. Anyone else like to speak? Valerie?
Yeah, I was just looking at the wording again, and it does say the possible disposal. And, you know, the disposal can come in many forms that we can all come to. I like Carmen's wording that, you know, we come to a solution that'll be good, that'll be a good solution for all of the parties. And again, you know, we need to look out for our students, and I'm sure that we can come up with something. And the only way we know if we can come up with something is to start the process. It's not something we can discuss on the side and then come back and say, okay, we're going to, we've come up with a solution. Our consultation process doesn't allow for us to do that, as in the Lytton K-12. And I think, you know, we've seen all of the letters. We've received quite a few letters and emails over the last few days. And we're very cognizant of that, and we understand that. And this isn't something that we would ever want to do, is shut down the hub services. So I'm looking forward to open, honest discussion with the community members.
Thank you, Valerie. Okay, I just wanted to comment too, and I want to say thank you to all of the public and to everybody who has sent in letters and their support for the hub. Valerie is right. We've read them all, and it's the furthest thing from our mind is to shut the hub down. Larry?
And Aura.
Yes, I agree too.
Oh, sorry, Aura. Go ahead, Larry.
Yes, I agree too in moving forward towards a good broad community consultation process. We have a record of looking at all different opportunities. We're not just interested in the market value or return. That way I know that we will look at community benefits as well. So I'm looking forward to an open community consultation process on this. Thanks.
Thanks, Larry. Aura?
I jotted down some notes here, so bear with me while I struggle my way through my handwriting. I just would like to say that I would see the district discuss with the society. Sorry, is there a problem?
No, your video wasn't working for a few minutes, but now I see you. You're good. Thank you.
Okay. I'd like to see that the district discuss with the society on a without prejudice basis what its relocation plan would be and how long they would consider to be a reasonable notice period before the district commences with the consultation process. The hub is obviously supported by a full spectrum of community. I look at it as if it's a partnership and an extension of our schools and school life for the students. In fact, they're offering things at the hub that currently we are, for one reason or another, unable to provide for students. I think that it's important that they are receiving those other options elsewhere. I don't mean to to fight the decision to proceed with the disposal process, but I would just support giving the hub a chance to offer their thoughts on a reasonable time frame that would help them plan their future while still not unreasonably delaying the commencement of the process. If that helps.
Okay, thank you, Aura. I'm not sure if that would have to go in as amendment or as we are discussing the approved proceeding with the community consultation process. So I'm not sure if you wanted to add that
I
in
guess
or just as a comment.
I guess I don't know if I have to make it a motion or if I'm just speaking against it because of
Okay.
the reasons I cited.
Okay, that sounds fair. Thank you. Donna, did you have anything you would like to add in here?
I'd like to thank all the members from the community for the letters of concern and awareness brought to the board for us to review. We've looked at everything regarding the letters coming in, as well as the position of the board, funding analysis and such. So, you know, some things are better passed on because of funding arrangements, and there's a lot of funding out there that can be approached better than the school board can provide. So this is one of those other options that we're looking at as well too, because if we keep it in our hands, those other funding opportunities to improve the building or to restructure or to support it can't be done when the school district has ownership on it. So keep in mind of that. You know, it's not that we're getting rid of anybody. We're just getting rid of the name or the ownership of it. That's what we're doing here. So keep that in mind. That's all I have to put into that. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. And I would just like to, I would just like to say that we are simply talking about the process right now. We're just discussing nothing else. It's just what the process is that we want to move forward. So the motion's on the table that the Board of Education approve proceeding with a community consultation process on the possible disposal of the former Ashcroft Elementary School. And that would be, I'm presuming from that recommendation, that would be starting right after this vote. So if I can get vote as to whether to, all in favor of the motion to start the process, proceeding with the community consultation process. There, 2, 3, 4, and myself. Thank you. That motion has passed. We will start discussions with, the process will start. I'll quit talking. Thank you. And I'm pretty sure Vicki can hear us. So if you would like to come back to the meeting, Vicki. I'm not sure if she came back yet or not. I can't see. There she is. Thank you.
Co-Chair Rempel?
Yes, I'm sorry.
I just say, you talked about the process starting right away, but we will take a few days to flesh out what that process looks like and communicate it. And there will be formal opportunities for participation. So that will be shared with the public before we start the process.
Perfect. Thank you. And that's kind of what I meant, that it will start and it will be put into your hands as to how you're going to be dealing with it. Thank you very much. I see Aura's hand up. And I see Val. Okay. Aura?
I just wonder then if that language could be written into the motion, because it is subtly different, but it is different. It's similar to what I was saying. We are not going to commence with the process tomorrow, but the motion doesn't say that.
Lynda, did you want to clarify?
Yeah, I believe what the motion does is give a direction to staff to put information together to share what the process is. Is that what you're referring to, Trustee Storken?
Still a bit confused. I'm sort of thinking that the motion says that we will commence with the process of community consultation without any timeline in the motion.
That
Like, I'm
timeline,
just wondering- Sorry,
Go ahead.
just wondering, like, is that something that would take, you know, at the end of the week we're going to be doing it, or in 3 months we'll start the process, or 6 months, or
one
it doesn't
thought
really...
is,
Sorry, go ahead, Linda, sorry.
yes, there are two options that district staff will take direction from the board. One, we can bring the process back to you for your February board meeting to approve the timelines and the form that it will take, or we can develop that, share it with the board in a less formal process, and communicate that information publicly.
Okay.
So that,
Thanks, Valerie. Go ahead.
okay, so this part of the process, when we starting this process, that part of the process is operations, and then the recommendation comes back to governance with a recommendation. Is that correct, Linda?
Yes, obviously, you know, the trustees would have an opportunity to listen to the community at the community meetings. So there will still be opportunities for trustees to participate. So trustees should see the dates that have been selected to make sure they work for your schedules as well. But yes, the consolidation or the collection of the information does come back to the board at some point for a decision.
Okay, so what we can do is request perhaps a monthly update or an update, timely updates. I guess I would have to say monthly updates for this process. What did we do for the Lytton K-12? We usually received a report when something happened. Is that correct?
Yes, what we'll do is put together the timelines, the suggested timelines for the board to review. We will send that out to you. It will then be communicated to the public. And at the end of the consultation period, that is put together into a report for the board. And that is, or I'm using report, whatever format that takes, and it will be provided to you at an open board meeting, so for your discussion and the deliberations.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Valerie and Linda. Aura, I see you're still unmuted. Was there anything more you wanted to add?
Thanks, yeah. So I just found the motion. So the motion is that the Board of Education approve proceeding with the community consultation process on the possible disposal of the former Ashcroft Elementary School. So that, to me, seems lacking in information around when that will happen. Just a blanket yes or no from us, but there's no timeline, there's no information about when.
So, and I'm just going to give you my perspective on that, is that because it has passed, that it has already started with the process of proceeding with the consultation. So it is starting as of right now. As Linda said, they will start working on it and getting up the timelines and stuff. And then we will, so in my mind, technically, the process has now been okayed to go forward.
Okay, thank you.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that explanation makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I hope that was right. Thank you. Okay. Any further questions or comments regarding that discussion? I see no other hands, so we will carry on. Thank you. Board representatives. The co-chairs will appoint board representatives to the First Peoples Education Council. And Larry, we were wondering whether or not you would still be interested in holding one of those positions.
Yes, with the PAC group, I'm there right now, so I'm interested in continuing on with that role, unless there's someone else that wants to as well.
That's perfect. Thank you. You and Carmen have been doing an excellent job. So, Carmen, you had mentioned that you would be willing to stay on.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that work. I've learned a lot and built some pretty sort of successful relationships, I believe, that are effective for the board. Although because of that excellent opportunity, if there is other trustees that haven't had that opportunity, I would certainly be open to not being on FPEC technically formally and allowing another trustee to take that on if there is somebody interested. However, I would like to stay. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see anybody jumping to that opportunity, so thank you. So Larry and Carmen will be the FPEC representatives. And at this time, Valerie and I were going to ask Aura if she would be willing to sit as the alternative for provincial council. If at any time Carmen cannot make it to provincial council, if you could take that alternate position.
I would need to know a little bit more about the commitment.
Once you get involved in it, you will know. No. You've heard from Carmen's reports.
Yeah.
And what goes on and how it happens. And Carmen could update you as to what has been happening and how things are working and this kind of stuff. And it's very rare that Carmen can't make a meeting, but in the off chance, you would step in her place and cover her at provincial council.
I would tentatively say yes, just with
sorry.
the reservation of my, so unfortunately, you know, my commitment also is my employment. So as long as I was able to tell you if I were not able to attend as well, even as the alternate, if that would be all right. But
that would be fine.
All right then, sure. Okay. Let's give it a whirl.
Sounds like a great starter
just
point.
Like, yeah, just like meetings, you know, you don't have too much commitment. No, just
yeah, just once a month, that's all.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. And Donna, if you would be interested in continuing on the role as BCPC alternate.
Yes, sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay. 7.9 is done. 7.10, BCSTA extraordinary and substantive motions. BCSTA extraordinary motions are due February 4th, 2021, and BCSTA substantive motions are due February 16th, 2021. Carmen, was there anything that you wanted to discuss about on this?
Just to remind the board that there are going to be 5 motions coming from the branch, 3 from previous AGM and 2 for this AGM. And if there's any desire for our board to submit a motion that obviously there's still time for the next board meeting if it's not a substantive or an extraordinary motion, which is usually something to do with bylaw, that type of thing. So at this time, I feel as if we've successfully done our work through the branch and our 9 boards in the branch that we work, or the 8 other boards in the branch that we work with. And I feel that branch motions are stronger. So I'm excited to have our branch motions put forward. And I don't have any recommendations for motions coming from our board at this time. Although if someone has an idea, I'm certainly have time to research and pursue the development of a motion or more than one motion for our next board agenda if that's desired. Okay, but it would be best if it was prepared in time for the agenda for our next board meeting. So that kind of gives us a couple of weeks here, and I'll let everyone know if something's sort of beginning to happen about another motion, but at this time there isn't another motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Carmen. And I just have to ask, Vicki, I see your hand is still up raised, but that was from earlier. Okay, just checking. Thanks. Okay, on to 7.11, motion to BCPC. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm just hearing other voices in my head. Motion to BC Public School Employers Association at the request of co-chair Valerie Adrian, the board will discuss forwarding a motion to BCPC regarding the public sector executive compensation freeze policy. You're up.
Okay, so this came by. I found a motion from Maple Ridge Pit Meadows, one of the BCSTA directors is the chair, and Mike has allowed me to bring their motion forward, and I'm just wondering if our school district would be interested in sending either the same or similar motion forward to BCPC, because it's not just it just doesn't affect Maple Ridge Pit Meadows, it also affects us. So just to want to be fair to our senior staff, our executive staff. So there's a motion there, the motion that Maple Ridge Pit Meadows put forward. So I'm just wondering if we would be interested in doing the same here at SD74. And I'm willing to put the motion forward that the exact same motion as Maple Ridge Pit Meadows.
Okay, thank you. I think it's an excellent idea myself. I do believe that they should be exempted from it. So if anybody else would like to speak on it, Vicki, please. Thank you.
I like the motion. What I'm not clear about is the freeze. There was a freeze for a lot of years and then they took the freeze off. Are they putting it back on again? I'm just not aware of what's happening.
Who's on BCPC that could speak to this better than I can, or Lynda?
Or Lynda actually could probably speak to it better, but I actually maybe here she is.
Yes, there is a freeze. The freeze is back on.
Okay.
And I am BCPC rep for the board, and I will be attending the AGM, so I can easily speak to this if our board is in agreement to it. So,
was there a rationale why they put the freeze back on again?
I believe it was the government, wasn't it, Lynda, that they chose because of all that extra funding that's been going out for COVID, that it was just decided to. Is that correct?
It's correct. Certainly there are financial challenges provincially, and the Public Sector Employers Council, along with the government, has advised boards that the compensation for senior staff is frozen as of January 1, 2021.
Okay.
And one of the big reasons why I wanted to bring this forward again was because it took so long to get caught up again. You know, once you put a freeze on, all of a sudden in a few years you're scrambling to try catch up again, and and it's really not fair to our senior staff to be carrying this.
You muted yourself. I'm not sure if you meant to or not, but I also feel too that in these times, our senior staff have been working 3 times as hard as they normally do. So to put a freeze on now is not right in my books. So would we like this to go forward to BCPC AGM? Carmen?
I do feel that we've had so many problems with the freeze that occurred previously. And as a Board of Education, I think it really takes away from our ability to recognize job performance when we cannot even fairly compensate the key people that we depend on to see success in the school system. So I'm not sure how though we should proceed with this. Like, I support this motion, but do we need to submit the exact same motion? I wonder if it wouldn't just be, maybe a letter of support. I don't want to clog up the BCPC AGM with 2 almost identical motions. I don't really think that's effective, but on the other hand, if that's a stronger statement, then I'm not opposed to making it. But at this time, I think we should at least say to our representative at the meeting that we support the motion. Please vote in favor of the motion. Please support the motion. Please speak to the motion.
Yep, I agree. And I think that's a very smart way to go, rather than, as you said, having the same motion. It'll just be redundant anyway, because it'll probably be thrown out. So I can just speak in favor of it if the board so wishes, our board.
I agree with that. Yeah. I put a motion forward. Nobody seconded it, so we can. It wasn't owned by the board yet, so we can go with that recommendation instead.
Sorry about that. I didn't realize that it was a motion. Sorry. Thank you. Okay. Is everybody in?
Carmen.
Carmen.
Yeah.
I'm waving my hand because I had it up a while back and I don't know if my camera was not hitting your screen, but is it effective in this case that we write a letter? We could write as a board a letter saying that we agree with the motion submitted, like a letter in advance of the meeting. I'm not sure if that is a strategy used often at BCPC with boards, although I think it might be a good strategy to kind of show some support without having another motion. So I would move that we write a letter to boards of education regarding this motion and our support for it.
And CC to BCPC.
Well, to boards of education, yeah, sure. CC, well, whoever. I won't identify all the parties. It should be CC to. I think the rep would have a better knowledge of that, maybe staff. But I don't think it would hurt to have a letter saying that we're happy to see this motion forwarded, that we don't want to send or that we support the motion. Something simple.
And you are suggesting that letter go to all boards of education. Is that correct? I just want to clarify. Is that what you're trying to say?
I think it should go, yes, because that way the boards of education may see that it's getting some support prior to the meeting, and then kind of rally behind the motion even more. That would be the rationale for sending the letter, and of course it would be an electronic letter. So. You know, I think it needs to also go politely to the BCPC board of directors and the BCPC organization. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And can I get a seconder for that motion, please?
And
Valerie, thank you. Thank you. Now you may continue to speak.
And can we also CC
BCSTA?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. That's just, sorry, every now and then you just kind of cut out and leave half a sentence unsaid. So just clarify.
Yeah, I think my internet is acting wonky out here.
Okay. So all in favor of sending a letter to all boards of education supporting this motion? Thank you. And that is passed. Thank you. And yes, I will, if required or needed, at the AGM. And I was just looking it up. I know it's coming up here very shortly, but it's not on that particular calendar right now. So thank you. And we will now go to information, to the report from district management. Did anybody have any questions or comments or anything they would like to say? Vicky?
I just wanted to say thanks again for the COVID updates. It just helps me to feel like I'm doing my due diligence with monitoring and ensuring that our policies about having safe schools are keeping up to date. And I know that I asked for that, and I appreciate there's quite a bit of detail this time too. So thanks. Yeah.
Thank you, Vicky. I would like to say thank you, yes, Valerie, in 1 second, for the information on the Indigenous Working Group. I found it very exciting and interesting, and hopefully that we can get some languages in all of our language lessons in all of our communities. Thank you. Valerie.
I think Carmen had her hand up first.
Well, see, Carmen's hand hasn't moved, so I wasn't sure if that was from before or after. So, sorry,
Oh,
Carmen.
okay.
It was from before. Thank
Okay.
you.
Thank you. Okay, Valerie.
Okay. Yeah, just we had an update around how many students have returned, and it was 350. I'm sorry, but I cannot remember the total number of our students. What's the total number of our students?
1,100. Sorry, Teresa.
No, we both gave the same answer. It's great.
You said 1,100, correct? Okay, thank you. Okay, Valerie, was there anything else you wanted to add? No? Okay. Thank you. It's very exciting. I really do appreciate these updates, these information updates. We do tend to learn a lot from them. So thank you very much. Report out on BCSTA Academy. Did everybody have something wonderful that they can bring back from the Academy that they attended
Aura
via
had her
online?
hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, Aura. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, it was just a comment or a question, I guess, around the report. And that was the district response to COVID-19 and the perceived learning loss. That is something that I do hear from parents, and I am thankful that we're addressing it. But I'm just wondering if through those assessments at the beginning of the year, you know, from one year to the next, is that something the board's going to be given information about so that we can see if in fact we did have a learning loss or if that actually didn't occur?
Thank you. Teresa?
Great. So if it's okay, I first want to address the notion of a learning loss. I know it is a very common term in our sector right now. It's one I actually struggle with a little bit. I absolutely agree that there has been a gap due to the ability for students to engage in their learning or not, but I struggle with the thought of a loss because usually, well, if you've learned something, you don't lose it. And so I guess I struggle with the concept that students, due to their lack of time in school, lost things they had learned before. But absolutely, we are very aware of that the gap of time in learning had an impact on where students were moving towards and forward in their learning, as if we had been in a normal year, in a normal spring and summer. And so to answer your question, the board does not receive results of school, class, or district assessments, but where you will see this is in systemic assessments such as FSA or the literacy and numeracy assessment for grade 10 and 12 students, those sorts of measures. That's where you will see them, but staff are certainly focused in schools on those key foundational areas of literacy and numeracy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Anything further? Okay. And to be honest, and I will be first to admit, even though I'm the one who instigated all of this, I did not read all the way through the agenda, and so I did not have anything to report on BCSTA Academy, even though my book is sitting right here in front of me. It was wonderful. It was totally different online. It does show that we can all learn and gather even in uncertain times. So, Aura, please.
So yeah, the academy. I was thoroughly impressed. If I want to lead with the positive, I was thoroughly impressed with the technology and how well it worked. Considering the scope and that big kind of event, I hadn't participated in anything that large and was pleasantly surprised that it was almost seamless. So I applaud the efforts of whoever set that up. The only other thing that I wanted to mention is that I actually found it a very, very, very long couple of days. Having the presenters speak in a talking head, literally format for, I don't know, what was it, an hour and a half each, something like that. like I'm afraid I didn't do them justice with my attention span. I was feeling like half an hour or 45 minutes might have been best for me. So yeah, it was seamless in its technology, but I would suggest that it was too long for one speaker at a time. Just talk.
I agree. Thank you, Aura, for that. It did seem in person, we're able to sit there and hear it, but when we're sitting at home, there's just too many distractions, I think. Carmen, Larry, Donna, anybody else like to share their perspective of the Academy? Valerie?
I also, sorry.
No, go ahead, Carmen.
I just wanted to let you know that I'm getting a migraine, so I'm going to be muting my voice and my video.
Okay, thanks, Val. But you're still listening, so that's good.
Okay, so just really quickly, I felt there was just for the physical length of time sitting was a little too long. So similar to Aura, and I felt that it was much more beneficial than I originally thought it would be. I was excited to learn more about particularly the mental health speaker. I have some notes here, but I think that also the Indigenous content, having the storytelling was really beautiful, and I thought that overall I was so happy with the attendance, but just the same thoughts as Aura, that it was kind of hard to maintain focus for that length of time. I just felt a little bit like I wish I had a standing desk. And, that feeling is a good thing, because sometimes when school is online for kids, I'm sure that in a similar experience for them. So it kind of was neat to have a taste of the new online world and what students and staff are going through as well. And just the health aspects kind of concern me. But just that's about all I have to say about it. Thanks.
Thank you, Carmen. Sorry, Vicki, did you want to?
I can, but Donna had her hand up before me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Donna's not in my screen. Thank you very much. Donna?
Yeah, I found the experience very, very successful in regards to the arrangement for the programming and stuff. And the breakout sessions, I think, were great use. It's the second time I think I had the opportunity to be able to do that in a meeting. Like the other ones, attention deficit, sitting there too long. I do that during my work hours here, and I get antsy as well too. So I have to get up and move around in order to absorb things. So it's just one of those things that if it's not well prepared in speech, that I find that it does, I do wander. So like the other ones there, I found that a lot of the programs that I went into in the breakout session, it didn't seem like it had enough allotted time there for people to bring out discussions and stuff, or we'd get started and then, oh, it's time to go back to the other session. So those things, if we had other opportunities to arrange for comments or something like that, I think that would be great in that. I had fun in it in regards to that, but it was long. But thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Vicki?
Yeah, I reiterate everything everybody said. I mean, kudos to those organizers who set that up. That's huge. I'm sure a very, very big learning curve for everybody too. And yes, very long, a half-hour thing. And the breakouts were a great idea. It just wasn't quite executed, I think, properly. I think maybe another little tweaking here or there. I think it could be really good. Maybe less people. I found even just, when we did the our branch meeting thing, I could tell everyone wanted to chat and have little conversations, but you can't do it when there's like 50 people on the screen. Sometimes I've been in some that you do these almost like a speed dating sort of thing where you have all your different breakout rooms and you have 3 people and you've got, 15 minutes and then you get another 3. And I find that to actually be quite beneficial and feels like you get a good connection. So maybe that's something they can think about. I really like the speaker, the one with the goats, with the video that we watched ahead of time. He had some thought-provoking things that seemed a little bit outside of the at an education. I was just surprised at some of the things that he talked about, and I thought about it for quite a while. So I really liked him and other speakers as well. So overall, it was certainly beneficial, and kudos to everybody who worked on that.
Thank you, Vicki. Anybody else? I'm not sure if I called on Larry or not. Valerie?
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's a any way that we could put together the concerns, because we can look at other options instead of doing this all in 2 days. Maybe if they even broke this down into, we're probably in this COVID way of doing things for at least it's probably until December. If it might be earlier, but who knows? If there's a way that we could send a letter forward to ask them to consider other options, because it was long and the speakers were wonderful. I really loved showcasing the students in between. And, that's something that we wouldn't be able to do so everybody could see it in a face-to-face meeting. So I really like hearing the feedback, but I think that BCSTA should be hearing feedback and maybe some recommendations from us as well. And maybe that's something that we could bring forward to the next meeting or something, if that's something we wanted to do.
Okay, thanks, Val. And actually, my recommendation is that our suggestions and comments go to our PLC chair, who just happens to be our PLC rep on our branch meeting. So maybe these concerns and comments can be going directly to her. And then if we want, then at least we know it's going in the right direction. So just a suggestion. I too really appreciated the mental health discussion. As I was going back to my notes, there was a lot of good information there. And the fellow in the very beginning, and I forget what his name was, that had the goats and the chickens and talked about everybody else. He was in such an outside space that he actually drew my attention the best, because he was not just sitting there talking. There were a couple of the speakers were very engaging, but there were a couple that were a little bit on the drier side. So I had a hard time keeping focused with them. But I really did. I think probably for me, the mental health was probably the most, for me, engaging. So, thank you all for sharing. Did anybody else want to share anything more?
I just would like a moment to talk about 8.3.
Yeah, we're going to move there.
Okay.
Yep. Anybody else have anything else on the academy? That's all. No? Okay. Oh, Valerie?
Yeah, just wondering how we could go about getting that information to our PLC rep, maybe through Vicki or something to. If we send her.
There is an executive Thompson Okanagan branch meeting tomorrow night. So, and I think through Vicki as our president, I think she could probably pass that along. I would guess.
Will, for sure.
There she is.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and another nice thing actually that came out of it, it was an unintended a bit, but Leah, our PLC rep, she put on how we had the chat on the app. I don't know if a number of you participated in it, but she asked the question, what kind of Pro D would you like to see? And there were lots of responses. And so we were super excited about it at our last executive meeting. We're like, we've never had this much great feedback, even from after our branch meetings. We asked for feedback, and this is actually better than we've ever got before. So now we have a whole list of Pro D suggestions, and that's going to guide a lot of the decisions we make moving forward, at least on the branch level. But I'll also give this to Leah to inform the rest of the committee at BCSTA.
And I think for me, one of my biggest disappointments was the shortage of the time that we were able to break out into our branch meeting. And the three questions that we were supposed to be answering, they were pretty much not answered by 3/4 of the branch because there was just so little time. So I think that definitely is a time constraint. Okay, thank you, everybody. 8.3, community, our Cache Creek Community Engagement Report. Carmen, you wanted to speak to that a bit?
Well, just for the trustees that had a look at this report, this report was presented at the consultation meeting that I attended on behalf of the board, and it seems like a very long time ago. It the meeting that I attended happened after this report was created. So this is October 16th, as you see the date on there. I don't believe that I had an opportunity to talk to the board about that meeting yet. So would it be okay if I just gave a couple of highlights then about that meeting? Okay, so the meeting was a live meeting, which is kind of unusual these days. And anyway, it just so happened that I was actually the only participant in the meeting that wasn't either a member of the village staff or on council or there other people. But what I did support with regard to the cannabis sales potential for the future for Cache Creek was a corridor around the school property equivalent to the current location of the government of BC liquor store, which was a little bit kind of one of the main topics. Is like, if there were to be retail cannabis sales in Cache Creek, how far away should they be from the school? So my feedback for the group was that it should be the same distance or further than the current liquor store, which is along the highway in Cache Creek. And then the other thing that I suggested was that symbols that include pictures or description, visual description of the cannabis not be on signage in just because of the impact that repeated symbol could have on acceptance or usage over a long period of time. And other than that, that was basically the two items that I commented on. I believe the village of Cache Creek is being very, very careful in their approach, and I haven't heard or seen yet their kind of final policies regarding retail cannabis sales in Cache Creek, but because we are a little bit more of a highway corridor than some of the other communities in our school district, I thought it was important that you hear about this. And I think we're just at this point waiting for Cache Creek to move forward with their development of their policies on this. And the other item I want to mention related to cannabis is that I did have a quick chat over Zoom with Brad Viss regarding the smell of a grow up in the downtown core of Cache Creek that I have been told impacts students in that the smell is often hovering around the whole downtown core area, including the school playground and students as they walk to and from school. Even if you drive in your car, you can even smell it from time to time. So I have supported Brad Viss has a petition asking the federal government for increased rules and more transparency regarding the location of cannabis grow ops, small and large, in communities, that municipalities should have information on that. Right now it's top secret, that RCMP should have information on that. Brad has drafted a petition, and I have forwarded it to the village of Cache Creek, hoping that the village will allow signatures basically at their office. The gathering of signatures for a petition is a little tricky with COVID, but I think that they do allow one at a time public in their office, and so the Cache Creek Council will be hopefully supporting that. And so I just thought I would update the board on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for attending on behalf of the board. And that takes us to info pack. Everybody read that. And we will move on to adjournment. I'm sorry, first of all, I guess I should have asked if anybody had any questions of Carmen. I don't see any. No, okay, thank you. And I will ask for adjournment, please. Somebody, am I not seeing how? Oh, there we go. Thanks, Carmen. I can't click fast enough through all the pictures. And meeting is adjourned. And we will now go to question period. If there's any questions.
There are 3 questions.
Okay. And oops, sorry, I can't have that up and see everybody here, so I just need to minimize that. Shall I answer these, or would you like to, Lynda? No? Okay.
Oh, I was just going to suggest that normally they go through the chair.
Okay, that's what I thought so, but I wasn't quite sure. Some of these were different. Okay, so from a Sandy, how can a comprehensive consultation be guaranteed when at this time during COVID it is not possible to ensure a public has access to participate? We will do our best to ensure that there is multiple ways for public to participate. What prompted the issue of disposal of the old AES when the lease is in its early segment of a 9-year lease? This was brought forward to the board last year yet as to when we should proceed. And it was determined then to start that process this year because it will take a year to 2 years time, and we didn't want to be doing it at the end of the lease. It is the Ashcroft Hub Society who is responsible to financially keep the building open and operational. So consultation with the Hub Society board is imperative. Will there be an opportunity for the Hub board of directors to meet with the school trustees to discuss in a more informal setting? I'm sure that can be discussed, and there will be the public consultation processes that we can also meet there. So I'm sure that there's going to be definitely opportunities for us to meet. Juanita, did you have a question? This is Lynda Minnebarriet would like to answer this question live. Or is that Juanita wanted to ask the question live? Okay.
Hi.
Hi, thanks, Juanita.
Sorry, I just wanted to speak on about the comment about the spending the money on the students with the money that the Hub, in continuing the partnership that we have with the Hub, as it is, we are actually having the students access the Hub using the MERV's gym for fitness instead of phys ed sometimes. They're utilizing it for extracurricular activities and for grad photos, team nights, babysitting courses, food safe, art programs, virtual programs in the COVID for students and things. So I just wanted to make that known that there's that aspect, that the money from the district is still spending it on students when they're supporting the Hub the way it is. And I guess the other question I had was in with the consultation process, if that part of that moving forward would be a discussion with the Hub and the board to see how do we work together first to continue doing what we're doing and assuming more so that we can continue the Hub as it is. I'm a little confused with the whole process. So.
Okay, thank you, Anita. And I believe once staff has put together a process and we can have a look at it, then we can discuss as to how that is going to look. Is that fair to say, Linda?
My apologies, I was reading the questions.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Teresa?
Yes, Teresa.
Yeah, I think right now we're hearing from both community and trustees around what a good process looks like, feels like, and will entail. And so I think these questions will help guide the development of a consultation process that feels good for the community, but as well as the board members of the Hub Society.
Thank you. Okay. Gloria, did you have a question?
Hello?
Yes, there you are. Thank you.
First of all, I want to thank the board again for a thorough and thoughtful discussion. Again, I am quite impressed at the meetings. There's always very good comments that people say, and you've done all your homework, you've done all your reading. A couple of things I just make comments and questions, if that's possible. The first one dealing with the Lytton K-12 school. This is very exciting. I find that having worked in two K-12 schools, and it is really such a benefit to the community. I feel it's almost, it's a shame that all schools can't be K-12 or all communities can't have K-12 schools, because they are definitely really beneficial to the community. So I just have a couple of questions with regards to the K-12 school. First of all, the resources for Lytton Elementary. I know that with the Ashcroft Elementary, that resources were offered to community members at one point. Will that be anything? Will there be any sales of equipment, tables, chairs, whatever, or is it all going to be transferred over to the new school?
I'm going to leave that to Linda to answer.
I would anticipate that there will be supplies remaining. The Lytton Elementary School has been in operation for 50 plus years, and so there will be items there that probably have put into storage that people don't even remember that they're there. There will be a process for going through that to determine whether or not there's anything of value, you know, for staff or not staff, but for the school, and then it would be offered publicly. We haven't got that far, Gloria. We're still in sort of the initial stages, but certainly that is part of the board policy, that if there is disposal of items of value, that the public is part of that.
Okay, excellent. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. The school name, you said in February you were going to approve of a school name. I think that's what I understood. So is there a process for the naming of the school, or is it for the public besides the community, or is it just the community itself? Do staff and students and everybody have a say in that, or how does that work? How is it going to work, pardon me, for Lytton?
Okay, I'm not quite sure. Donna's got her hand up here, so I'm not sure if you're trying to answer that question. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yes. As part of that process, there a committee in the committee. It was announced to the public. So to the public, we put out kind of like a drop box for people to put suggested names into it. Those names are going to be compiled in an organization. The top 4 or 5 might be suggested if it's there. We ask the public to suggest a name, the reason that the name is being offered, and the meaning behind it. And then with that, we also ask the participants to put their name in there, and it's going to be put into a big box and drawn out. But in the meantime, there are names that are being suggested from the communities and surrounding communities in attendance to the schools. And they're the ones that have inputted the names into there. So from there, the top four names will be presented to the school district or to the trustees for the final decision in regards to that.
Thank you, Donna. And I felt it was, because you are part of that process, it was better that you answer that one rather than myself. Thank you.
Can I ask more questions?
Sure.
You had mentioned also that during the K-12 renovations, there was an archaeological find, and that is the reason that it was delayed. And as a researcher myself, I'm just interested in knowing how to, is that information that is accessible? Do people, is there a process of finding out about what was there or anything like that? Is that shared at all with community members, or who would it be shared with?
The artifact was actually, as soon as it was found, it was immediately brought to Lytton First Nation, and they have the artifact and are managing any communication about that. It obviously did not belong to the district. It's part of the communities that have been there for thousands of years, and so it is there, and we did whatever we needed to do to support the process that they required.
Still talking? Yes. With your policy reviews, you adopted, and then it says on them adopted, reviewed, and a few of them had, well, previous to the policies, I don't have the thing in front of me, but there were some strikeouts, and I thought that was really good. I could see what was struck out, what was discussed, and how it was struck out. And the ones that I didn't see that with the policy, I'm looking at the like the meeting expenses one. There was no strikeouts. It was adopted, reviewed. Are those, is it, let's see. Can you show those strikeouts on your reviews? Because I find that very, very useful to see what was discussed and how it was reviewed over time.
Gloria, on those ones, when we do our policy updates, our policies are gone through every 2 years. So it's a rolling circle, and we're constantly monitoring our policies. So sometimes when one of the policies comes up that doesn't need any changes or anything, it is just there for review. And if any of the trustees have any concerns or questions or changes, then they're added in. And sometimes there's just nothing that needs to be added. So that's why there's no strikeouts or anything.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, that's possibly what was happening there. With regard to the public consultation for the Ashcroft hub, I'm just wondering if when you start to create a list for public consultation, if it's possible to write down the options that you had mentioned, Lynda, about how disposal, what are the alternatives for disposal? For instance, like people think disposal, we're not, it's gone. But that doesn't sound to me at all what is happening. It's more of, who's going to take up the cost for the maintenance? Or is it going to be a total sale? Is it going to be a transfer to somebody else? Is it going to be a lease over 10 years? So if those options can be listed as part of the consultation, I think that will make it a little bit clearer for the public as well as to how, oh, these are the different options. I can clearly see what's happening with, that we don't want to, the board doesn't want to just get rid of it. There's a process for all such properties. And a comment about the learning loss. I agree with Teresa that you don't actually lose anything. And I'm thinking that if they're at home, and I think time on this earth, we're learning all the time. So there should never be any learning loss. It seems like a really bad way to say something, because if you are living, you are learning. And I agree with you, Teresa, that there's no such thing, or it's a misnomer, to say the least. Thank you all for giving a lot of your feedback with regards to the Academy, the Talking Head Academy. I think it was called, no, the Academy's not Talking Head Academy. We were saying that it was like a talking head. I think it's really great feedback, and that Nancy and Val, that you both have suggested that your feedback be given so that somebody else can continue to learn, because I think that's the whole point of education is it's nonstop and we can always learn from every single thing that we participate in. And I guess that's what I'll end with. Thanks very much for the opportunity to verbally share my questions and comments.
Thank you, Gloria. All good questions and comments. Thank you. Okay, going down the list, Jessica, is there an opportunity to have the letters speaking about the hub with redacted names be released to the public? I believe all letters will be going into the info pack. Is that correct, Lynda? Yes. So we have our info pack, which is on our website. That if at any time you wish to read those letters, they are available. Barbara Roden, with public meetings not allowed, how will you ensure that there is a full participation by members of the public who have challenges surrounding internet connectivity and technology? As stated earlier, I believe that we will be working hard to ensure that all public are able in some way, shape, or form able to have their voices heard. And there's between mail and telephone calls, everybody's voice will be heard in any way, shape, or form that they can come up with. So we look forward to hearing from everyone, and we look forward to the process, and we really appreciate all the letters of support that have already been sent in. So thank you very much. And I'm not sure, but I think that's the last one, or did I miss one? Oh, there's one more. Moving forward with the disposal process makes it more challenging for the hub to do business. The community thinks we are closing as members are now reluctant to purchase memberships. Staff worried about jobs. How will and can the disposal process move forward without jeopardizing this? I think basically reassuring the public that it's not closing down tomorrow. This is a process. It's going to take time. It's not a done deal yet. This is just the beginning of a very long process. So I think ensuring your members that there is no need to panic yet. It's not there. We are just starting a conversation. If anybody else wanted to add anything to that? Okay.
I would add something.
Oh, thank you, Carmen.
As the mover of the motion to move ahead with the consultation process, I concluded with what I believe is true is that our board has worked with other community groups and organizations across the district when these same circumstances have occurred. And our goal is always to end up with a win-win. And I think we've got a really good track record as a board of being sensitive to communities and yet at the same time being responsible in our role as a board and as trustees. So I'd just like to add that.
Thank you, Carmen. That makes it much clearer for me and everybody else. Thank you. And on saying that, I thank all of the public for participating and joining in. And this meeting is now over. Thank you. And we will be taking a 10-minute break before we go into closed meeting, if that's all right with the rest of the trustees.
And we're logging in with a different login, right?